Hello, this is Malcolm welcoming you to the 2069th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 13th of October 2016. The readers this week are Romany, Malcolm, Katherin and Patricia, with Jason on the controls. The editor was Katherin and the production and distribution team is Peter, Sandra and Phillip. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Patricia, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breur, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we'll be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The local news headlines this week include: a disgraced councillor is urged to resign his post, hopes for the return of ticket offices, mugged Alex Steen is finding trust again, and lawyers probe an asbestos death. Before the news, we've got one or two special news items and notices. First, the sunrise and sunset times for Monday the 17th of October are sunrise at 7:29 and sunset at 18:02 hours. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you've got any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She's your listener's representative and she'll be pleased to help you. So I've just got one announcement, which is about Enfield Vision, who've organised a focus day for visually impaired people to provide them with a chance to access information on equipment, gadgets and services which are available in the London Borough of Enfield. The day will be held on Thursday the 20th of October 2016 at the Disability Resource Centre, which is 65C Park Avenue, Bush Hill Park, Enfield EN1 2HH, between the hours of 10:30 and 2:30 p.m. So that's the Disability Resource Centre, 65C Park Avenue, which is not far from St Stephen's Church, and that's between the hours of 10:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. The day will be opened by Diane de Jersey, who's the chair of Enfield Vision, and the Mayor of London Borough of Enfield, Councillor Bernadette Lepage. The focus day is open to anyone with a visual impairment, their relatives, friends and carers, and this is a unique chance to meet with service and specialist equipment providers and the voluntary sector organisations helping visually impaired people. The organisations and exhibitors listed who will attend the focus day include Cobalt Systems Limited, Computer Room Services, Enhanced Vision Europe Limited, Humanware, MAB's Mobile Resource and Advice Unit, Optelec Limited, Pamtrad, Professional Vision Services, Sight and Sound Technology, Synaptic Limited, Vision Aid Technologies, and the service providers include the Royal National Institute for the Blind, online today, Enfield Carers Centre, Enfield Social Services, Enfield Talking newspaper, and Vocalise. And Enfield Vision will be providing refreshments all day, and you're very welcome. Please don't hesitate to contact Enfield Vision by telephoning their office on 020 8373 6260. That's 020 8373 6260, or email on information@enfieldvision.org.uk if you've got any queries about the focus day. And now Romany will read the first item of local news.
Disgraced councillor is urged to resign his post. A Labour councillor has been told to resign by the Tories after he was convicted of a second criminal offence in 2 years. Disgraced councillor Nassimi Erbil, who represents Lower Edmonton, was given a suspended prison sentence after being found guilty of a public order offence. He was found not guilty of a second charge of careless driving. According to his solicitor, Oslem Setin, Erbil had been driving into Edmonton when he felt he had been followed by a man on a motorbike for some distance. After stopping outside a shop, Erbil asked the motorcyclist why he had followed him, and an altercation ensued. The motorcyclist had felt threatened and called the police. Erbil is already suspended from the Labour Party after being convicted of fraud in September 2014. Erbil, a taxi driver, was found to be driving with a fake All-London green taxi licence when he was only entitled to drive his cab in Enfield, Haringey, Waltham Forest and Hackney. He was fined £580 and given 8 points on his licence, as well as a 4-week suspended prison sentence. Councillor Achilles Giorgio, Enfield Council Deputy Leader, said Erbil's future would be decided by the National Labour Party rather than at a local level. However, Councillor Terry Neville, leader of the opposition Conservative group at the council, called for Erbil's resignation. He said, "His position is untenable, it is utterly disgraceful. Irrespective of what the law says, he is an elected representative of the people in the borough, and he has got 2 serious convictions in just 2 years. If Labour had any decency, they would remove him from his position. Councillors can only be automatically disqualified if they receive a 3-month prison sentence." Erbil appeared at Highbury Corner Magistrates Court on September the 22nd. He was given a 6-week sentence, suspended for a year, fined £345 and ordered to pay £700 in court costs.
Hopes for return of ticket officers. Mayor's tube plans ready to go to public vote. Commuters are backing the reintroduction of ticket officers to the London Underground as plans go to a public vote. London Mayor Sadiq Khan has asked for a review of changes at stations, particularly the closure of ticket offices and the impact on customer service. The public can comment on the survey until the 24th of October. Oakwood Station was one of those to have its ticket office closed up, and the Enfield Independent spoke to passengers and asked whether they supported a return to personal customer service. Brian Birkinshaw, who lives in Spain, said the machines had left him confused. He said, "It's rubbish. I've just turned up here for the first time, having not been in the country for years. I'm looking for the ticket office because I'm really struggling to work out how the tickets work." Sonay Mustafa, who lives in Oakwood with her sons Tariq and Teza, said the system can be difficult even for those who live in the city, and a ticket office at Oakwood would be useful. She said, "It's good they have staff at the stations, but if there was a ticket man, it would be easier for them to guide us to our destination. We're from London, but we don't know our way around on the trains as we're used to driving." Teza added, "The other thing is jobs. It's very important. I know they've got 2 staff there, but the more staff, the better." Tarek said, "The machines are obviously a quicker way of travelling, but only if you know where you're going. If you don't know, you're not going anywhere, and by the time you've sorted that out, you've missed your train and you're late for work." If you wish to, you can take part in the consultation by visiting the website, quite a long address. It's londontravelwatch.org.uk/ticketofficereview. Emailing consultations@londontravelwatch.org.uk.
Mugged Alex Dean finding trust again. You may remember the first part of this story from August, and now we have the happier conclusion. A 101-year-old great-grandmother who was mugged in August says she can trust people again after a community tea party was held in her honour. Frail centenarian Alex Dean Roberts was floored and had her bag containing £300 stolen on August the 23rd in Westcott Close. Jawad Nasser, 37, of Gladesmore Road, Tottenham, has been charged with the attack. On Sunday, the public showed their support for Mrs. Roberts by holding a party at the Bernie Grant Arts Centre in her honour, which she attended along with many members of her family. She said, "I am getting over it. I am feeling much better. Where he thumped me, I have a bump, but I'm getting better. If the man who did this was here, I would put him over my knee and wallop him. When I first came from Jamaica, such things never happened. I feel now I can trust people again, though I do keep my doors locked. Being here proves there are lots of good people in Tottenham." £1,171 after a fundraiser aiming to raise the £300 stolen from her received online support. Her great-granddaughter, Roxanne West, said, "While it had been a difficult time for the family, it had brought them closer together." The 30-year-old said, "It's quite disturbing someone would do that to an old lady, but she has fighting spirit. She has been ill before and has always come back. No doubt this will be the same. She is head of the family, top of the tree. We are really grateful. It's overwhelming. She's really happy." The party was organised by Gerald Cohen through the Tottenham Ploughman Facebook group. She said, "I was shocked by the headlines. I thought the community should show some support. I put a message on the page and it went from there." And there's a lovely picture that goes with this article where Alex Dean Roberts is in the middle of a happy-looking tea party and she's getting a kiss, which from someone I assume is her grandson, and if not, even better.
Lawyers probe asbestos death. An engineer's wife died as a result of exposure from handling his overalls. Former workers at a now demolished power station are being sought by lawyers seeking to launch a potential compensation claim over the asbestos-related death of the wife of an ex-employee. Lillian Ridley died last month, aged 86, from mesothelioma. A post-mortem examination revealed that the cancer was caused by her exposure to deadly asbestos dust from washing the overalls of her late husband, Frank. He worked as a boiler house engineer at the coal-fired Brimston power station on the Lee Navigation Canal from 1958 until it was decommissioned in 1974. The present-day gas-fired Enfield power station, built in 1999, stands on part of the original site. Mr. Ridley's job at the Brimstown power station involved using asbestos to lag pipes. After it was shut, he worked in East London at West Ham Power Station in Canning Town and at Brunswick Wharf Power Station near Blackwall until he retired in 1983. He died of cancer in 2011. His death was not linked to asbestos. Mesothelioma is associated with exposure to the hazardous material. Lawyers acting for the family are now seeking to trace former work colleagues of Mr. Ridley. Andrew James, industrial disease specialist at law firm Hodge, Jones and Allen, said that Mrs. Ridley had been having problems with breathlessness, finding it increasingly difficult to walk. When she went to her doctor, the outcome was devastating, he said. She was diagnosed with mesothelioma in July this year. The disease can be very fast-acting, and Lillian died less than 2 months later, on September the 9th, 2016. Pardon me. Before her death, Mrs. Ridley had instructed lawyers to investigate how her late husband had been exposed to asbestos dust and to find out if more could have been done by his former employers to protect him from the lethal substance. He worked for the British Electricity Authority, which became the Central Electricity Authority and then the Central Electricity Generating Board. Mr. James added, "Cases involving wives or daughters who washed workers' clothing are becoming increasingly more common. Lillian died because her late husband's employer exposed him to asbestos at work and failed to prevent him and his family from this deadly dust. Clearly, this should not have happened." The dangers of asbestos were well known to Mr. Ridley's employers during the years of his employment. The courts have previously held that employers should have been aware of the dangers to family members caused by workers bringing home asbestos dust on clothing since 1965 at the earliest. Mrs. Ridley's family has asked anyone who has information that may help to contact Mr. James on 020 7874 8458. That's 020 7874 8458, or by email at ajames, that's one word, at hja.net. That's ajames at hja.net.
Safety net for housing. Homeless charity Shelter has found that more than a quarter of working families in London could not afford to pay their rent or mortgage for more than a month if they lost their job. These figures are a stark reminder that sky-high housing costs are leaving hundreds of thousands of working families in London stretched to breaking point and barely scraping by from one paycheck to the next. Research has also revealed that a fifth of working parents in London face the nightmare prospect of being immediately unable to make their next rent or mortgage payment if they lost their job and couldn't get another one straight away. These worrying findings mirror recent government figures which show there are 16.5 million working-age adults in the UK with no savings at all. High housing costs remain a major area of concern for most working families in the region, with half saying housing puts the biggest strain on their household budget. As the country faces a period of economic uncertainty, Shelter is urging the government to do all it can to protect and improve the welfare safety net that helps families to stay in their home when they fall on hard times. Any one of us could hit a bump along life's road, and at Shelter, we speak to parents every day who, after losing their job or seeing their hours cut, are terrified of losing the roof over their children's heads too. In these uncertain times, the government has a real chance to show working families they're on their side by protecting and improving the welfare safety net. It's vital that if life does take a turn for the worse, there is enough support available for families so they don't go hurtling towards homelessness. Anyone who is worried about losing their home can contact www.shelter.org.uk/advice or call the Shelter helpline on 0808 800 4444 for free expert advice.
Fear as travellers move in. About 20 caravans have moved onto land belonging to Ark John Keats Academy in Bell Lane, Enfield. Head teacher Jerry Collins declined to comment, but people living near the school said the group of travellers moved in last Wednesday. Paula Williams of Albany Park Avenue said, "Since their arrival, they've been fly tipping building waste and other junk non-stop. You need to witness this to believe it. I'm very concerned as the police appear to be powerless to do anything about it. They build fires every night, and I'm concerned that this will get out of hand." Another neighbour, who asked not to be named, added, "They're using it as a tipping ground. We've contacted the council, the police and the school, but none of them can do anything. It's very frustrating." The academy site is the latest in the borough to be illegally occupied by travellers. The most recent was 2 weeks ago, when 6 mobile homes moved onto the former site of Barnet and Southgate College, which was sold to Enfield Council in July.
Hospital land is sold off to make way for new school. A brand new all-through free school will open in 3 years' time on land sold off by a hospital. 1 Degree Academy for 4 to 18-year-olds will move into a purpose-built site at North Middlesex University Hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, when building work is completed. The free school boasts that every pupil will leave with an offer from a top university and is one of 35 approved by the government 2 years ago. A scaled-down version for reception children, aged 4, opened at a temporary home in Ponders End on October the 1st, but until now the Academy's permanent location, where it can operate at full capacity, had remained a mystery. Principal Aidan Sadgrove told the Advertiser, "There is a real need for schools everywhere in London, but particularly in Edinburgh. We are a bit different. We aim very high, but we're not selective. We're open to everyone. Our goal is that, regardless of background, every child leaves 1 degree with an offer letter to a Russell Group university. Of course, not everyone wants to go to university, but whatever they decide, they will be making that decision from a position of power. We have just opened our new school in Ponders End, temporarily sharing with Heron Hall Academy in part of the old Middlesex University building, before we move to our permanent home. The Department for Education has officially taken possession of the land just off the North Circular Road, one of the most polluted roads in London." A spokesman for North Middlesex Hospital confirmed that the land had been sold to the Academy and stressed that no services would be adversely affected by the deal. The money raised will be ploughed back into hospital services and in particular will be used to invest in our academic and training centre, said the spokesman. "We plan to create a new and modern facility that will support the study, learning and professional development of our doctors, nurses and other clinicians, making the hospital a better place to work and improving services for patients. Subject to planning regulations, building work will begin soon." An increase in the number of all-through schools is being driven almost exclusively by the last government's Free Schools programme, reforms designed to allow parents' groups, teachers and charities to set up their own state-funded school independent of local authority control. Mr. Sadgrove and other supporters of the system believe it helps younger children with positive role models and avoids a difficult transition from primary to secondary school.
Okay, now we have a guest columnist, Lou Stein of Chicken Shed Theatre, and he writes, "We have fabulous news from Chicken Shed this week. Our production, Kindertransport, has sold out. But don't despair if you haven't got tickets. We've extended the run for a further week, so we now have performances until Saturday, October the 29th. Kindertransport has been a great success and a first for Chicken Shed in many ways. It's the first play I have directed for Chicken Shed, and it's the first time I've cast an outside performer into one of our shows. I first met Michelle Collins when she was 18 and straight out of college. I cast her in the play I was directing at the Gate Theatre in Notting Hill. It has been wonderful to work with her again on Kindertransport. The play has received fantastic reviews, including a 4-star review from the stage, with such wonderful quotes as powerful, superb, astonishing. And on Thursday, we had a further 4-star review from the Jewish Chronicle, who wrote that Chicken Shed is set to become a mini-theatrical powerhouse. I'm not able to relax as we're heavily into rehearsals for our next show, Adventure to Oz, which opens on November the 23rd. As one show finishes, the next is rapidly on its heel. Adventure to Oz will be a dazzling show with a cast of more than 600 split into 4 rotas, although the core of our professional actors remains the same for each performance. And this all-singing, all-dancing, hugely spectacular production will be one not to be missed. We are inviting our audiences to travel the famous Yellow Brick Road with our brave band of friends to meet Dorothy, the Tin Man, and, of course, the Wizard himself.
£33 million housing bid. Talks have begun to try and secure £33 million to build more homes in the borough. Enfield Council representatives are meeting with Greater London Authority, the GLA, to agree the terms of a financial package designed to increase the number of houses and flats in the £3.5 billion Meridian Water development. Already 10,000 new homes are planned in Meridian Water, but the council also want to redevelop the surrounding areas neighbouring the project. Housing zone status has been granted for the area, dubbed Edmonton Futures, which means it has been designated for fast-track development, and the council hopes the additional money will allow them to expand further and faster. Enfield's population is projected to exceed 400,000 by 2032, and the council says it is aiming to build 798 new homes a year, each year until 2025. Cabinet Member for Housing, Councillor Ahmet Oykiner, said, "Gaining housing zone designation for Edmonton Futures is great news because it will help to sweep away red tape and help us get the high quality and affordable homes our residents desperately need built far more quickly than we normally would be able to. We want to extend the enormous benefits Meridian Water will provide beyond the development itself and into the surrounding area, and we can now do that thanks to this decision. We are essentially creating a corridor of opportunity in the east of the borough which will help provide high-class homes, infrastructure, jobs and opportunities and help to lift the wards they live in out of deprivation."
Helen has personal interest in Trent Park Museum plan. Comedienne, actress and author Helen Lederer has a personal reason for backing plans for Trent Park's historic mansion to include a museum dedicated to its top-secret wartime role. A grandfather of the star, whose credits include the role of Katrina in the BBC TV comedy Absolutely Fabulous, worked as a secret listener, covertly recording conversations of high-ranking German officers being held in the mansion off Snakes Lane, Cockfosters. Developers Berkeley Homes have submitted a planning application to Enfield Council. This includes creating a permanent museum and building luxury flats. Miss Lederer's grandfather Arnost, later known as Ernst Lederer, came to Britain on one of the last trains from Czechoslovakia as a refugee from the Nazis. But another branch of the family was not so fortunate and perished in the Auschwitz concentration camp. Ernst was recruited in 1944 to join the team of secret listeners, many of them, like himself, Jewish refugees. Miss Lederer only learned about her grandfather's secret wartime job 4 years ago when filming for Channel 5 programme War Hero in My Family. She told the Advertiser, "I'm very proud and shocked and have a huge respect for what people in the past could do. I know that what Ernst was doing was very important and saved lives. Trent Park, for me, represents people doing stuff, getting one back, without any applause. They did it without telling anybody. That's the important thing."
Armed robbers sentenced. 4 armed robbers who stole hundreds of thousands of pounds across Enfield and Haringey have been jailed. During one of the robberies at Sainsbury's in Lordship Lane in August 2015, a handgun was fired, although it was later found to have been firing blanks. Ashley Waterman of Silverdale Close, Northolt, received the longest sentence at the Old Bailey on Monday after pleading guilty to 7 counts of conspiracy to rob, as well as possession of an imitation firearm. He was jailed for 15 years and 8 months. The first of his 7 offences took place outside the Morrison's store in Stamford Hill on July the 9th. Police caught up with the gang as they prepared to commit a robbery in Wood Green last October. Michael Palmer, 24, of Lansdowne Road, Tottenham, pleaded guilty to the robbery in Lordship Lane. He was sentenced to 2 years and 10 months behind bars. Paul Hinge, 28, of Fladbury Road, Tottenham, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to rob and given 4 years and 4 months imprisonment. Sheldon Hussey, 26, of Plevna Crescent, Tottenham, pleaded guilty to robbery and will serve 2 years and 10 months.
Funeral service tribute to long-serving head teacher. The life of a retired head teacher who taught thousands of school children during a 40-year career is being remembered at a funeral service on Wednesday. Claire Clark, 65, who had been diagnosed with cancer a year ago, helped educate generations of pupils at schools in Enfield and Haringey, in some cases teaching 2 generations of the same family. As head of Totten Hall Primary School in Totten Hall Road, Palmers Green for 20 years, she helped turn round what had been a failing school. At the time she was appointed head, the school had been placed in special measures. When she retired 3 years ago, its Ofsted rating ranked it outstanding. Claire's daughter, Edwina Clark, 31, said teaching was her life. She was always doing something with the school and worked incredibly hard. Claire, who lived in Ridgecrest, Enfield, with her husband of 40 years, John, received an OBE in 2013 for her services to education. She was completely overwhelmed and incredibly proud to receive the OBE, said Edwina. It was the perfect end to her 40 years of teaching. The honour not only recognised her contribution to Totten Hall, but also to Eldon Primary School in Eldon Road, Edmonton, where she served simultaneously as head, as well as to 3 other schools at which she held senior teaching roles. Both her daughters, Edwina and Emma Louise, 35, were pupils at Eversley Primary School in Chasefield Park Road, Oakwood, when their mother became deputy head earlier in her career. She also taught at Stamford Hill Primary School in Tottenham and at Belmont Primary School in Wood Green. My mum was very modest. She never complained, added Edwina. She just got on with it, and if it wasn't a challenge or something to get stuck into, then she wouldn't have wanted to do it. Claire's life will be celebrated by family and friends at the funeral service at 12:30 a.m. at Our Lady of Mount Carmel and St George Church in London Road, Enfield. Her family have requested that instead of floral tributes, donations should be made to the Sarcoma UK charity.
Man stabbed following altercation in Monmouth Road. A man is in a serious condition after being stabbed in Edmonton. The 21-year-old victim was stabbed in the stomach in Monmouth Road following what police describe as a brief altercation with 2 suspects at around 9 p.m. last Wednesday. The suspects are described as black men aged around 18. No arrests have been made, but detectives want to trace a dark-coloured car, believed to be either a people carrier or a black cab, which they believe drove the suspects to the scene. Detective Chief Inspector Dan Brown said, "Although we are uncertain as to the exact type of vehicle seen before the attack, I need to hear from anyone, possibly a private hire or taxi driver, who took 2 males to the Monmouth Road area on Wednesday night. They may have vital information that will assist the investigation. Anyone with information should call 101 or to remain anonymous, call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
Shopping mall gives pupils chance to do the business. School children rose to the challenge in the competitive world of retail when they were put in charge of helping to run a shopping centre for the day. Running the Mall Wood Green, one of the capital's biggest shopping complexes with a variety of leading high street stores, is a big operation at the best of times, but it didn't faze 29 Year 6 youngsters from Willow Class at North Haringey Primary School. The takeover day was aimed at introducing youngsters to work and offered them the chance to shadow professionals to get a glimpse of what is involved in the day-to-day running of a business. The 29 youngsters got the chance to work alongside members of the management, marketing and security teams and to learn about what they do. They were also set a marketing challenge, using their creativity to draw Christmas trees, which will go on display at the shopping centre during the festive shopping season. Isaiah Fapuro, marketing manager at the mall Wood Green, said, "It was a great day as we were able to give children an opportunity to experience the world of work. We hope this will help them understand what they want to do in life when they leave school. It also gave us a chance to listen to their ideas and is a great way for us to become more involved with local schools, as we pride ourselves on being part of the Haringey community." Haringey or Enfield-based schools who wish to take part in next year's takeover day at the Mall, Wood Green, are invited to register their interest by emailing Isaiah Fapuro, and the email address is Isaiah, and that's spelled ISAIAH, .Fapuro, which is spelled FAPURO, at themall.co.uk.
Get clicking to a fairer deal for your borough. This is a letter sent in from Monty Meth, president of the Enfield Over 50s Forum. It's going to be a tough call to end the many years of underfunding in Enfield. That is why we need every advertiser reader to just lift a finger and sign up for fairer funding for Enfield, from the petition calls for hike in government funding article in the Advertiser October the 5th. When did you last see both Labour and Conservative leaders on Enfield Council and our 3 cross-party MPs all battling on the same side, seeking to reverse the underfunding of council and health services by successive governments going back almost 20 years? I'm told the funding model used by ministers to tackle our serious problems of poverty and homelessness, for example, are at least 15 years old. Our petition is seeking to restore some justice in the way Enfield is treated by Whitehall. By supporting it, you will not just be helping Enfield residents today, but future generations of Enfield citizens whom we all want to see living in a thriving borough. For petition forms, call 020 8807 2076. That's 020 8807 2076.
I've got another letter which is about asking you to try living without meat for a bit. It's from Beating Bowel Cancer. I'd like to let your readers know about a new charity initiative called the Veg Pledge that people across the country will be getting involved with this summer. All you need to do is to give up meat and fish for a week and donate what you would have spent to support the charity Beating Bowel Cancer. To make it even easier, the charity has developed a Veg Pledge calculator which helps you work out how much you would have saved based on your average weekly consumption and where you shop. It's a great way to encourage people to look at their diet and spending habits and raise funds to help those affected by bowel cancer at the same time. It's only for a week, but participants could learn a lot about what they eat and spend their money on, as well as support a great cause. It's a real win-win situation for those who take part. Learning to live without meat occasionally could also be good for your health, as there's strong evidence to suggest that eating too much red and processed meat is one factor that can increase the risk of developing the disease. Bowel cancer is the UK's second biggest cancer killer. There are a number of factors known to increase your chances of being diagnosed with the disease. Some you can't change, such as your age and family history. However, you can reduce your risk by cutting down on red meat and processed food, exercising, quitting smoking, and reducing your alcohol intake. Beating Bowel Cancer provides vital practical and emotional support for everyone affected by bowel cancer. They also run the UK's only nurse-led specialist helpline for bowel cancer, which patients call a lifeline. We're here to help beat bowel cancer, but we rely totally on donations. So we're asking people to make one simple lifestyle change for 7 days to help us continue our work and support all those affected by this disease. For more information and or to sign up for the Veg Pledge, visit beatingbowelcancer, which is all one word, .org. That's beatingbowelcancer.org. Okay, we thought we'd take a moment now to do some upcoming events, so here's Romany with the first one.
Tottenham Hotspur Foundation is delivering fitness and multi-sport sessions, including cricket, football and tennis for visually impaired people aged 14 years and upwards. The dates for this are Wednesdays weekly. The time is 6 to 8 p.m. The venue is Barnet and Southgate College, Southgate Campus, High Street, Southgate, London N14 6BS. To book your place, please email peter.stone@tottenhamhotspur, that's one word, .com, or call Peter on 07787 504 237.
And you are invited to the first Enfield Wellbeing Showcase with a variety of super coaches, therapists, retailers, speakers and readers ready to show off their talents and skills. The event is supporting Enfield parents and children and the North London Hospice, and it takes place on Saturday the 22nd of October from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and they'll be at the Dugdale Centre in Enfield. Entry is £3 per person, with under 16s free. Treatments cost £15 for 20 minutes. Visit the Tranquility Zone for stillness, therapies and chill out, including treatments such as massage, reflexology and Reiki. And you can visit the Hive Zone for services, sales and products, and the Speaker Zone for talks throughout the day on all things well-being.
Poetry in Palmer's Green on Saturday the 22nd of October at 7:15 p.m. at St John's Church Parish Centre, which is in Bourne Hill. Tickets are £5, £3.50 for concessions. Join 5 local poets for an evening's entertainment, including music by Helios Consort, books for sale and refreshments. If you're interested, contact Myra on 020 88 86 1329 or Katherin on 020 88 81 1418 for more information. St John's Church Parish Centre is a gentle 10-minute walk from Palmer's Green BR station. You can get the 329 bus from Wood Green or from Enfield to Bourne Hill. The 121 bus from Wood Green to the Triangle leaves you with an 8-minute walk. Once again, that's Poetry in Palmer's Green on Saturday the 22nd of October at 7:15 p.m. at St John's Church Parish Centre in Bourne Hill.
Okay, time to catch up with some sport, and here's Romany.
And this is Rugby Union. Enfield Ignatians put their poor start to the season behind them on Saturday by crushing visiting Harpenden 39-20 to record their first win of the campaign in London Division 2 North West. Looking a totally different side from the one who had lost their first 4 league games, Ignatians dominated from the start, and tries from Cairo Sango to Christo Kasabi, Robert Rigby and Jack Wilson, coupled with 14 points from the boot of Jake Bates, ensured that they claimed maximum points. We were far more composed and controlled than in previous games, said skipper Keir Bonner. We had a game plan and stuck to it. Our defence was good and we made sure that we played in the right areas of the field.
And continuing the rugby, impressive Sarries are back at the top. Saracens reclaimed top spot in the Aviva Premiership on Sunday by easing to an impressive 30-14 bonus point win at home to previous leaders Wasps. The visitors came into the match still holding a 100% record in the league, but that came to an end in emphatic fashion as they were dominated up front by an extremely impressive Saracens pack. Jamie George came off the bench to score 2 tries for the hosts, while Mako Vunipola and Mike Ellery also crossed the line. The rest of their points came from the boots of Alex Lozowski and Ben Spencer. "I thought we put Wasps under a lot of pressure," said Director of Rugby Mark McCall. "We put them in lots of difficult situations, but we didn't always capitalise on the pressure we put them under, especially in the first half. We couldn't sustain pressure in that first half because of our discipline. I think we gave away 10 or 11 penalties in the first half, most of which were pretty soft, so it was a bit frustrating. But I thought the players didn't get frustrated by these things and they kept building the pressure on Wasps. It's obviously a great result for us to come away with 5 points against a quality side. There's quite a large part of our game which is in quite good shape. Our defence has been good all season. I think we've conceded 4 tries in 6 games, which is a good record. And we controlled them for 35 minutes defensively. But if you make one mistake against them, which we did, they score a try." Saracens launched their defence of the European Champions Cup with a tough trip to Toulon on Saturday. Kick-off at 3:15.
Cockfosters failed to take their chances. Cockfosters endured a frustrating day on Saturday as they had to settle for a 2-2 draw at home to Colney Heath in the Spartan Premier Division, despite dominating for much of the game. The Reds, who went into the match lying third in the table, created the majority of the chances and scored twice through George Ironton and Meshach Williams. But a far more clinical Colney Heath outfit also grabbed 2 goals to secure a share of the points, and Cockfosters' frustration was completed when they squandered a golden opportunity to snatch victory late on by missing a penalty. "We played very well," said manager Dean Barker. "I think that Colney Heath only had 2 shots in the match, and they scored from both of them. I certainly can't complain. We played well again. We just didn't take enough of our chances." Barker added, "I want to give a special mention to Cameron Ferguson, a central midfielder who is on loan from St Albans. He's a very talented player and is just getting better and better with every game." Cockfosters go to London Tigers on Saturday at 3 p.m, before hosting Hoddesdon Town on Tuesday at 7:45 p.m.
And more football. A late strike salvages draw. Gabriel, the last-minute hero for Town. Enfield Town have gone 6 games unbeaten as they fought back to draw 2-2 at Mercham in the Ryman Football League on Saturday. Billy Crook whipped a corner into the box in the 13th minute as Mark Kirby rose the highest but couldn't get significant contact on his header and the ball drifted wide of the post. In the 34th minute, Town squandered a great chance to break the deadlock as Crook played the ball out to Tyler Campbell, who crossed to Samir Bimutin, that's Samir Bimutin, and his shot was saved by Phil Wilson. The miss was to prove a costly mistake from Ricky Gabriel, with the loose ball being played to Dan Hector, who slid the ball past Nathan MacDonald. The hosts kept causing problems, and the visitors had to weather a storm for the next 10 minutes, but the last chance of the first half came from a Town attack. Keir Dixon was brought down just outside the penalty area before Crook fired the free kick straight at the defensive wall. The second half was a cagier affair, and Mercham almost extended their lead around the 65th minute mark as Omar Folk's shot was blocked from the edge of the penalty area before Hector was allowed too much room as he shot the ball wide. But it was Mercham who scored another as Xavier Vidal surged down the right wing and played the ball onto Reece Hall, who found Alex Adai as he unleashed a hard, low shot under MacDonald. Trailing by 2 with only 10 minutes to go, Town found their stride as substitute Bobby Devine pulled one back 7 minutes from time from close range. Gabriel became the hero as he found the equaliser in injury time as he drifted in at the far post and tucked the ball under Wilson to level. The Towners take on Wingate and Finchley this weekend in their next match.
And this is horse riding. Dujardin searches for next superstar. Charlotte Dujardin is no stranger to winning, and she took her customary place at the top of the lineup in the Arbonne Dressage Future Elite Championship at the Horse of the Year show last weekend. The Enfield-born dressage athlete rode 8-year-old gelding Hortense Delicato and delivered a test of 78.62% from the judge to win ahead of Sonna Murray-Brown in second and Tom Good in third. Dujardin is now spending more time looking for the next superstar and is concentrating on bringing on her young horses in the sport, and told Horse and Country Delicato could be the one to watch. He is going to be a top horse, really special. He is only 8, and that was only his second competition to music, added the 31-year-old. It was also the first time in a massive indoor arena for him as well, so he dealt with all the pressure and the hot atmosphere really well. He was a bit tense at the start, but as I went through the test, he settled and I was really happy with him. Dujardin is no stranger at competing in the Horse of the Year show, having started her riding career in the show ring. She said, "There are lots of childhood memories for me being here, with competing in showing classes and winning a couple of times. Going into the main arena under the spotlight was always every girl's dream, so to come here and ride here again and to win and go and then do it all over again with the presentation was brilliant. It was so much fun." The win comes after the news was confirmed 3 weeks ago. Her beloved Vallegro will retire at the end of the year. Part owner Carl Hester said the horse will take part in a retirement ceremony at London's Olympia Horse Show at the end of the year and will not contest in any more shows competitively. But the demand for the 15-year-old gelding still remains high as Dujardin and Vallegro travelled to the States to compete at the Rolex Central Park Horse Show in September. Also known as Blueberry, he has only been ridden by Charlotte for a number of years now, but another rider may pick up his reins. Charlotte was busy at the National Championships at Stoneleigh, so I rode him and had a lovely time, Hester told Horse and Hound. If Charlotte's okay with it, then I might ride him at events sometimes in the future. We have decided that Vallegro will retire from competition at Olympia this year. The old energetic Vallegro is back, and this is how we want people to remember him.
And now a couple of short hockey reports. Southgate maintained their 100% record in the Men's Conference East of England Hockey League by easing to a 4-1 victory at Cambridge City on Sunday. Ewan Gilmore gave Cambridge an early lead, but Sam Mee equalised within 3 minutes before Drew Birkin and Kit Cutter scored in quick succession to give the visitors a 3-1 lead. And Timmy Smythe went on to add a fourth 11 minutes from time as Southgate kept their place at the top of the table on goal difference. Meanwhile, Eliza Filamonico and Alexandra Fennick scored for Southgate ladies as they were beaten 5-2 at home by Hampstead and Westminster in their Conference East clash on Saturday.
And back to the news, but with an article still with a sporting flavour. Youngsters run alongside fundraiser. On Thursday, academy pupils put their running shoes on to join a man attempting to complete 10 marathons in 5 days. Ultra runner Adam Holland has already run 262 miles across the country to raise money for education charity Oasis and has visited the group's 47 academies throughout the UK to talk about his remarkable mission. Starting his final day at 6:45 a.m, by the afternoon Mr. Holland, a factory worker from Newark, was speaking to students at Oasis Academy Enfield, having run alongside them for a few miles on the last leg of his journey. Starting at the Humber Bridge, the 29-year-old said his journey to London had been an unforgettable experience. He said, "I have done other things of similar lengths, back-to-back marathons on the same day, but nothing like this. The last 4.5 days have been amazing. I've been really grateful for the weather, and my team have been great. Originally, I wasn't the person who was going to be doing this, but they got injured, so the charity got hold of me. And once I heard about it, I couldn't say no. They're such a fantastic charity. To get to go around all the different schools has been amazing. The kids from Enfield were very hyper, ready to go, and apparently there's pizza, so they were running even faster." Mr. Holland has other extraordinary feats planned for the future. He's now set to be the sole ultra runner, completing a 100-kilometre run each day for 10 days for another charity that he intends to try and break the world record for the fastest man to run 10 marathons in 10 days. Neil Hassel, head teacher at Oasis Academy Enfield, said, "This is really important on 2 fronts. For us, fundraising is an important part of what we do. We're always raising money for our partner schools in Uganda and Kyrgyzstan, and for the local community. Sport is very popular here. Our students enjoy taking part. Today is a chance for some of our really good runners to show what they can do and to meet an elite marathon runner." To support Adam's efforts, go to 262challenge.run. www.262challenge.run.
40th birthday of care home. An Enfield care home has celebrated its 40th anniversary. Arnold House first opened its doors in 1976 and currently looks after 21 disabled people. The home held an anniversary party which included a volunteer thank you ceremony, plus cake stalls and a tombola. 4 committed volunteers, Paul Wharton, Pauline Cullen, Ethel Riley and Billy Over, were honoured with a certificate in the ceremony. Home manager Norana Islam said, "It was an absolute delight to welcome previous staff and family members of people who lived at Arnold House. We took the opportunity to say thank you to our volunteers, whose contribution is vital in every aspect of our work."
And now a cinematic film review. This is for The Girl on the Train, which was given 3 stars. Published last year, Zimbabwean-born author Paula Hawkins' novel The Girl on the Train has become a literary sensation, selling in excess of 11 million copies worldwide. As with Gone Girl, another taut thriller with a gasp-out-loud narrative twist, Hollywood came a-knocking. Tate Taylor, director of the Oscar-winning civil rights drama The Help, was duly hired to shunt the book's setting from London to New York for this glossy film adaptation. Erin Cressida Wilson's assured script retains a similar structure to the book, exploring tangled themes of motherhood, revenge and betrayal through the eyes of 3 women who are unwittingly trapped in cycles of violence. Using on-screen title cards to chart the fractured chronology, the film shifts perspectives between these flawed yet resourceful protagonists whilst attempting to pull the wool over our eyes. It's an entertaining, though not exactly pulse-quickening ride. All aboard! Rachel Watson, played by Emily Bunt, has self-imploded following an acrimonious divorce from her cheating husband Tom, played by Justin Theroux. When she wakes from her drunken stupors, Rachel has alarming gaps in her memory, and on one occasion she is covered in bruises and blood. As a result of her intoxication, Rachel loses her job at a PR firm, which she conceals from her roommate Kathy, played by Laura Prepon, by taking her usual train each morning and sitting in the park with a bottle of spirits. The The journey takes her past her old house, where Tom is now happily settled with his mistress Anna, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and their baby. The tracks also pass by the residence of neighbours Scott, played by Luke Evans, and Megan Hipwell, played by Hayley Bennett, and Rachel fantasises about the couple's seemingly perfect relationship. One morning, Rachel stares bleary-eyed out of the train window and glimpses Megan in a clinch with another man. Megan subsequently vanishes, and Detective Sergeant Riley, played by Alison Janney, becomes interested in Rachel's hazy recollection, especially since the drunkard has no alibi for the hours leading up to Megan's disappearance. The girl on the train is a smart psychological potboiler, anchored by a strong performance from Blunt as a self-destructive woman who is figuratively going off the rails in her darkest hour. Unreliable narrators are far more tantalising on the page than the big screen, and there are a couple of pivotal moments in Taylor's film which tip the wink too early to the characters' dark ulterior motives and personal ties. Nevertheless, the picture chugs briskly down various dramatic sidings before arriving at a messy final reckoning that satisfies rather than surprises.
Packing a punch for Black History Month. Black History Month kicked off with a bang in Enfield on Saturday with the launch of the inaugural Pineapple Punch Festival. The community event at the Dugdale Arts Centre in London Road, Enfield Town, showcased a variety of attractions to celebrate the contribution of black culture in the arts. People also joined in African yoga and martial arts sessions, as well as free taster dance classes such as salsa, zumba, kizomba and bachata, which is a dance originally from the Dominican Republic, focusing on lower body movements. There was a range of live performances featuring the reggae choir and Heidi Vogel, lead singer from the Cinematic Orchestra, as well as Christina Matovu, a contestant from 2015's TV music competition, The Voice. A range of traditional African and Caribbean foods were available, including sweet treats such as ginger cake and Jamaican bulla cake, which is made from molasses and spices. The main reason we held the event was to show the positive aspects of Black history, said event organiser Charlene Grant. Some people think of Black history as just being about slavery, so we wanted to remind them of the contributions Black people have made through these events, she added.
And here's an opinion piece. Don't pretend you represent the majority. Claire Rogers writes that Cycle Enfield has made significant adjustments to the routes in response to each consultation. In Cycle Enfield has listened to the public, and the verdict is clear, published in the Advertiser on October the 5th. Where are these significant adjustments for the A105? As far as I can see, the route still runs straight along the A105, where it will cause significant problems for shops and other businesses, residents, users of public transport, and more worryingly, the emergency services. She also says she is fed up with these objectors saying they represent the community, arguing that for the 350 members of Better Streets for Enfield and others she has spoken to, they do nothing of the sort. Well, the 1,600 residents who wrote in to lodge their objections during the sham statutory consultation for the A105 would likely say the same about Claire Rogers and Better Streets for Enfield. Unless my maths has gone seriously awry, 1,600 is a lot more than 350. To conclude, to use the phrase "on your bike" to this scheme seems particularly appropriate when you consider its meaning in English slang. And that's from Martine Roberts of Winchmore Hill.
And here's a letter from Lorraine Morris, who's the manager at Pets at Home Enfield. It's a bit of a plug, but we take our cats there to the vet, and they're actually very nice. So she says, Pets at Home in Enfield will be hosting an activity club this October half-term. Parents in Enfield are being invited to bring their children to the free fun workshops from October the 17th to the 28th, where they can interact with and learn how to prepare our furry friends for the autumn and winter months. The workshops will teach children how to look after animals during cold weather, including preparing small animals for hibernation and keeping outdoor pets well cared for during snow and cold weather. Children will also get the chance to hold some pets in store. We can see where that's going, can't we? After completing the workshops, each child will receive a My Pet Pals themed certificate colouring sheets and stickers to take home. The informative workshops will be run by Pets at Home colleagues, most of whom are pet owners themselves. To find out more about My Pet Pals Autumn Activity Club and book your place, please visit petsathome, that's all one word, .com/workshops. That's petsathome.com/workshops. But parents, go into that with your eyes open.
Callous thief, 43, guilty of mugging OAP. A callous man has been convicted of mugging a blind pensioner. Darren Neville pleaded guilty on Thursday of robbing a partially sighted 71-year-old man in 4th Street, Edmonton. Neville, who police say is of no fixed abode but from the Edmonton area, pleaded guilty at Wood Green Crown Court and will be sentenced on November the 4th. At 10:20 a.m. on July the 2nd, the victim was walking home along 4th Street after he had gone shopping. He had withdrawn over £400 in cash from a machine. As he turned into an alley from 4th Street onto Folkestone Road, he was approached by 43-year-old Neville, who punched him in the face. The victim fell and suffered a head injury and had to stay in hospital for 3 weeks. Neville stole a number of items from him, including the cash, and ran off, leaving the pensioner on the ground. He was arrested on July the 27th following a Met Police appeal. DC Stuart Miller of Edmonton Police said, "This was a particularly callous attack given the age of the victim and his severely limited eyesight. I am pleased that the overwhelming evidence against Neville left him with no option other than to plead guilty."
And now a letter from Paul Woolley from Cedar Park Road, Enfield. The headline is, "I can see why people dump unwanted stuff." Mr. Woolley writes, "Further to your article, As Fears Grow Over Increase in Fly Tipping, in the Advertiser of the 5th of October, I booked the collection of a freezer for my father-in-law last week. First, I had to create a record for myself, and because I left the town name blank, the system wouldn't allow me to make a payment to WorldPay. So I tried to edit my record and found there's no facility to edit the town name and was taken to a page to add a new address. WorldPay sent a payment receipt, but there was no confirmation of my booking from the council. I later emailed the council repayment mail address given by WorldPay to check if the payment had been made, and my emails bounced back. So I phoned the council on Tuesday to check if the freezer would be collected and was given a specific time. A relative waited at the house all Wednesday afternoon for somebody from the council to call. I phoned the council at the end of Wednesday afternoon and was told the freezer should have been left in the front garden. When I said there's no instructions for leaving items at the front of the property on the bulk collection form, his reply was, "It's all on the website." I then phoned the council on Thursday morning, 6th of October. The first 2 operators put me on hold after I explained the problem, and the lines cut out. All 3 operators asked for the reference number which was on the email which my father-in-law didn't receive. All 3 told me all information is on the website, and one said I'd have to pay again. I now understand why residents fly tip their old beds, furniture and electrical items.
And another letter. This is from Stephen May from Enfield. And this is entitled Cutbacks on Black Bins. If a service has to be sacrificed, why can't the black refuse bin be collected fortnightly instead of the green one? If people were more conscientious about recycling, they would not produce anywhere near the amount of rubbish that is generated at present. I only put my black bin out every other week, on average, and even then it's rarely full, whereas the green one is filled every week with garden cuttings, mowed grass, etc., especially during spring and summer when foliage grows more quickly. Also, kitchen waste would smell badly if only collected every 2 weeks.
Okay, parliamentary boundary changes slated. Councillors from across the political spectrum have backed a campaign opposing proposed parliamentary boundary changes in Enfield. Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows recently launched the Save Our Southgate group, which disagrees with the changes suggested by the Boundary Commission to reduce the number of MPs from 650 to 600. The Commission has proposed scrapping both the Enfield Southgate and Enfield North seats. 2 new seats would take their place, one called Finchley and Southgate, the other simply Enfield. The former would cover voters in Winchmore Hill, Southgate and Southgate Green, as well as several Barnet wards. Mr Burrows said the changes would be a bad deal and asked the council to back his campaign. He said there may be different political interest views across the 3 Enfield constituencies, but for the purpose of the council I would suggest there can be a consensus that it is overall a bad deal for Enfield. Councillor Jansev Jamal, chairman of the council's electoral review committee, said, "I am quite cross that we're losing any MPs at all, while the House of Lords gets bigger and bigger. Losing a seat in Enfield will be very problematic. Our population keeps growing, we're developing, and the basis on which they're pulling us apart is incorrect. Eventually, there are going to be enough people in Enfield to need 3 MPs. It's more complicated than they think."
A woman's hijab has been ripped off by thugs. A woman had her hijab ripped off in what police say was religiously motivated crime. The incident happened around 7:30 p.m. on September the 28th as the victim, a woman in her 20s, was walking past the College of Haringey, Enfield and North East London in High Road, Tottenham, with a friend. 2 men came up behind the victim and one of them pulled down her hijab. Both men then ran off towards nearby Pelham Road. Police say the victim was shocked and distressed but not injured. The first suspect is white, aged in his late 20s or early 30s, with blonde or ginger shaved hair and stubble. He is approximately 5'6" and wore a burgundy hooded top and carried a Tesco bag in his right hand. The second suspect has a Mediterranean appearance, aged in his late 20s or early 30s, clean shaven with spiky hair. He was wearing a grey hoodie. Detective Constable Ben Cousins said, "This is a shocking attack in the middle of a busy street. Racially and religiously motivated crimes will not be tolerated. I would appeal to anyone who witnessed this attack to contact the police. Anyone with information is asked to call 101.
Dylan's a believer. An 11-year-old boy became the envy of millions of young girls last night, Tuesday, when he performed as one of Justin Bieber's backing dancers at the opening show of the Pop Superstars concert at London's O2 Arena. Dylan O'Mahony-Dorr, a pupil at Chase Community School in Churchbury Lane, Enfield, appeared in front of an audience of thousands of screaming fans. The youngster, who is a member of the Platinum Performing Arts School based at Millfield Arts Centre in Silver Street, Edmonton, was selected from thousands of hopeful dancers to perform with the Canadian heartthrob as part of his Purpose World Tour. "I couldn't believe it when I found out," said Dylan, who lives in Weardale Gardens, Enfield. "I heard my mum screaming after she was notified by email. And when she told me I was going to dance with Justin Bieber, I was speechless. He was just feet away from Bieber as he danced with other young performers for the song Children. I've danced in front of 5,000 people before, but there were more than 4 times that figure in the audience, said Dylan. It was a great experience because I want to dance when I'm older. Dancing has been a passion of Dylan's since he was just 5 years old and has always come naturally to him, said his mother, Reagan O'Mahony. She was at the concert, and while the thousands of believers were screaming their idol's name, his mum was chanting, Dylan. She added, he picks up dance routines really easily. He's a very good dancer, and he wants to dance professionally when he's older.
Just grin and bear it. Trent Park was transformed for the finale of the Bear Grylls survival race last weekend as thousands of enthusiasts flocked to test their mettle. Ropes, monkey bars, walls, fences and weighted sacks were dotted throughout the park as part of the survival races and outdoor festival, inspired by the adventures of TV star Bear Grylls, and intrepid reporter Claire Casey and her 3 young adventurers were there with the best of them. I joined my 3 pint-sized adrenaline seekers on the 1.5 kilometre course that took a loop through the trees, vaulting logs, scaling walls, ropes, and ending with a water slide, splashing their way over the finish line. They loved it. The middle one immediately wanting to join the next wave of races and go again. As well as the races, for which they were all rewarded with medals, t-shirts, headbands and healthy snacks, they tried whittling a bow and arrow. There were also people whistling through the air from the 180-foot bungee jumping platform, a Royal Marine climbing wall, and loads of stalls with everything from face painting to trailer tents. Leaving them laughing at people stumbling through an Arctic pit of ice, I set off on the 5-kilometre survival race. The first half was beautiful. The sun was shining down as we raced through the fields in Trent Park, scaling the occasional wall and climbing ropes, something I've not done since junior school. Next was carrying rucksacks with 20 kilos up a hill. It was getting harder. As well as the intrepid runners, many of them streaked with war paint, there were Bear Grylls' Survival Academy instructors at every obstacle. Taut, ripped and angry, they yelled at us. They told us that it was the mountain zone that would separate the weak from the strong. A 15-metre high and 32-metre long mountain cobbled together with scaffolding and ropes. And they were right. We set off in groups of 5, with the rope wobbling furiously as we all tried our hardest to pull ourselves over. Then, with my hands stinging and legs like jelly, I was given a tiny piece of cotton wool. Fluff it out, it lights better. Firelighting. Who would have thought it? Next up, I had to eat a mealworm. You're joking, I blurted out. Come on, soldier, or give me 10 burpees, came the answer. I considered telling him I was just here to write an article and probably didn't have to do the eating bit. But as I stared at him, his face streaked with green and black face paint, a vein throbbing on his forehead, I made my decision. I grabbed 2 of the brown maggot-like worms, entwined and swallowed them right down. The guy was right. Bacon crisps. Grylls wasn't there to cheer on his fans, but my kids were as I crossed the finishing line, sweating and happy.
Leaking pipe farce. A leaseholder has branded Enfield's housing department a farce after they took 4.5 months to fix a leaking pipe. David Mallison of Parsonage Lane emailed and phoned the authority at least 80 times since discovering damp in his council flat kitchen on May the 28th. After his plumber identified the problem was from a water pipe and the responsibility of the council rather than the tenant, Mr. Mallison was left waiting until it was fixed last week, 16 weeks after he first reported it. The council have now apologised for the delays. He said, "The whole episode has been a farce from start to finish." Mr. Mallison added, "I've taken time off work for pointless visits that haven't solved anything. The damp has apparently gone through from the pipe into my neighbour's flat too, but they got a different reference number for repairs, which seems to have led to confusion. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Housing, Councillor Ahmed Oikner, said the service received by Mr Mallison fell short of that which he should have received, and the issues that led to this have been raised with our contractors in order that both the council and its contractors can learn from this incident. Once again, we apologise for the delays and inconvenience suffered in this case.
It's bottoms up down at the farm after 40 Hall Vineyard were crowned winners of a competition celebrating food and drink in the city. 40 Hall Community Vineyard in 40 Hill, Enfield, won the Capital's Growing Enterprise category at the Urban Food Awards. The public were invited to vote for their favourite suppliers before a panel of food experts unveiled the winners at Borough Market in Southwark, South London. Project manager Sarah Vaughan Roberts said, This award is a fantastic testament to all the hard work and commitment of our amazing volunteers who are helping to build our successful growing enterprise. 40 Hall Vineyard produces London's only natural organic English sparkling wine made in the traditional method from high-quality champagne variety grapes. The 10-acre 40 Hall venture is thought to be the capital's only commercial-scale vineyard. Not only that, it is run and managed by volunteers, creating an inspiring community-led social enterprise. Some of the workers have been referred by doctors convinced of the benefits of outdoor physical work on mental health and the feeling of well-being. The vineyard was planted out in 2009 in partnership with neighbouring Capel Manor College. College principal Stephen Dow-Biggins said, I love the sparkling wine, but actually being part of this enterprise and bringing viniculture to London is what has made me happiest.
And now an item of arts news from our neighbours over the border in Crouch End. Cinema in Crouch End has been nominated as Best Cultural Venue in London for the Time Out Awards. The Time Out Love London Awards are open for a third year and will be celebrating restaurants, cafes, bars, shops and cultural venues across the capital that are dedicated to making Londoners' lives better. The Art House in Tottenham Lane in Crouch End has been nominated once again after winning Best Cinema in London in 2014, and last year the Screening House, which also provides live music, discussion groups, workshops and dance, was crowned Best Cultural Venue in London. This year they've been nominated for another Cultural Venue Award. Actor George Georgiou graduated from the Drama Centre in King's Cross in 2001, where he was in the same year as Tom Hardy and Michael Fassbender. He's also appeared in Game of Thrones and Homeland. He has transformed the former Salvation Army Hall with his friend Sam Neofitu, a director who's lived in Crouch End since he was 10 years old. The pair set up the Art House in 2014 after wanting to find a venue to showcase the plays they'd been working on. It was also close to where they lived. They gained planning permission quickly after receiving a huge amount of support from local residents who wrote to the council and said it was an amazing idea and it should have happened a lot sooner. George has lived in Crouch End since 2010 and grew up in Tufnell Park in Islington. He said they wanted to create a cultural venue that was intimate and personal rather than overpriced and corporate. It's just amazing to be recognised by Time Out, as it has really been a team effort between myself, Sam and all our friends and family. At the time, there wasn't anything like it in the area, but within a year, we managed to build it into a 2-screen cinema with a stage. For someone like me and people in the arts, you look at Time Out like it's your cultural Bible. So we're really excited to be nominated for a third time. We think the reason we've had such a great response from the public is that we are intimate and personal and reflect the people of Crouch End. George admits that when he moved to the area 6 years ago, he was shocked at the amount of writers and actors that lived in Crouch End, as although it was a very creative place, there seemed to be a lack of cinema and theatre. It made George realise they needed an outlet for everyone to meet up and share their ideas and creativity. and as a result, the idea for the art house was born. His business partner Sam in 2007, after they made a television pilot together called Bubbles, which was set in Crouch End and explored the Greek Cypriot community in the area. George, who comes from a Greek Cypriot background, admits his parents were very against the idea of him pursuing a career in acting, despite the fact that he appeared in a number of plays at Bishop Douglas School and East Finchley, including the lead role of Bugsy in Bugsy Malone. He says, "We make an effort to get different minorities into a platform that may normally be underrepresented, and that's why it's great about the Time Out Awards. They give a platform for local people."
Well, we've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team, Romany, me, Malcolm, Katherin and Patricia with Jason, it's goodbye. Bye. So please remember to put... Sorry, I'll start that again. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Diane Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 020 8805 6578. That's 020 8805 6578. Coming up next is the latest news and information from the Greater London area from Infosound. But the Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.